Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Michelle DeFrancesco from Simplify Media and the Facilities Management Advisor, and I'm here to provide you with some housekeeping items before passing the mic over to the real star of the show. Today we'll be presenting Stormwater Best Management Practices across the United States, sponsored by our friends from Equalis. All right, so before we dive into our session, I do want to cover some housekeeping items. So on your screen, there are a few different application widgets that you can use during our session today. One of them is called the Media Player widget, and this will allow you to control the volume of today's session. Please do take note that there is no dial-in number for our attendees today, and the audio is streaming directly from your computer speakers, so be sure they're turned up and on. You don't want to miss any part of today's great session. However, if you do have to step away or if you do miss any part, we are recording the entire session today, and we'll be sending it out to you via email in about 24 hours, so keep your eyes open for that. If anyone on the line today has any technical difficulty, please feel free to let me know by using the Q&A widget at the bottom of your screen, and I'll be happy to assist you. And speaking of that Q&A widget, we're really excited to hear from you today. So please go ahead and submit any questions that you have on today's topic at any point throughout our event, and we'll try to get to as many as we can at the end, time permitting. All right, everyone, so let's dive into introductions. I'm really excited to welcome our guest speaker to the floor, Aaron Zaske, Chief Development Officer and a Certified Stormwater SCM Inspection and Maintenance Professional at Equalis. If you do wish to learn more about our guest speaker, Erin, you can see her full bio in the Speaker Bio widget on your screen. Erin, thank you so much for being here today. I'm now going to kick it over to you to get started.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today to learn more about managing your stormwater assets. We have 4 key learning objectives for today's presentation. First, you will become familiar with multiple stormwater assets, both above and below ground, as well as green infrastructure. And after today, you will have a better understanding of what proper maintenance looks like for these assets and how to preserve them. You will also be able to identify issues and deficiencies in order to get ahead of system failure and costly repairs. And finally, you will understand not only why preventative maintenance is important, but why stormwater professionals are the most qualified to protect your stormwater assets. First, let's review the basics of a stormwater system. Stormwater systems exist on every developed property that is greater than 1 acre or more to manage stormwater runoff. As we have urbanized more land, concrete, asphalt, and other impervious surfaces are common. As these surfaces cannot absorb the rainwater, runoff is diverted elsewhere until it either enters to groundwater or reaches another body of water. On this journey downstream, stormwater collects pollutants, debris, and trash that is carried to our waters. Stormwater systems are not only support in reducing flooding and erosion events, but they are also required to combat pollution. These stormwater control measures are typically called Best Management Practices, or BMPs. BMPs can look very different and have a range of functions, but all are intended to treat, reduce, or prevent stormwater pollution. Please note, you will hear me refer to stormwater assets as both SCMs and BMPs throughout this presentation. As mentioned previously, all development that is disturbed that is an acre or more are required to have a stormwater system. The BMPs implemented are specifically designed to efficiently manage stormwater on your property. Every stormwater system looks different as engineers consider rainfall, impervious material, and the type of soil present on each property. The 2 main functions of BMPs are to retain large quantities of stormwater to avoid flooding or to treat stormwater by removing pollutants. Retention ponds, which are pictured here, and underground storage vaults are the most common BMPs for holding stormwater for extended periods of time. Water quantity SCMs manage the volume of water stored in and leaving the site. Water quality BMPs filter stormwater by imitating natural processes, utilizing sand, roots, or vegetation to filter out trash, debris, and pollutants as the stormwater is absorbed into the ground or carried downstream through underground drains. There are two different types of stormwater infrastructure systems, gray and green, that can be identified on most properties. Gray stormwater systems were originally designed with the main focus of moving stormwater away from buildings as quickly as possible. These manufactured systems are typically comprised of concrete or metal structures, including underground pipes and storm drains, helping to coin the term gray infrastructure. Green stormwater infrastructure, on the other hand, utilizes porous materials, including soil, vegetation, and permeable pavement to mimic the natural hydrologic cycle of a site. These systems are designed to capture the first flush of stormwater, which is often the most polluted stormwater runoff. By utilizing vegetation and natural processes, GSI offers ecosystem services including wildlife habitat, pollinator rest stops, groundwater recharge, biodiversity expansion, and more. This common use of greenery, including trees, grasses, and native vegetation, is what gives green stormwater infrastructure its name. However, not all GSI uses vegetation. Green stormwater infrastructure may also be referred to as low-impact developments, or LIDs, or nature-based stormwater strategies. There's a large movement in cities and towns across the country to convert existing gray infrastructure to green stormwater infrastructure. Throughout this presentation, we will discuss different opportunities in which you can consider how you can convert your structures. Above ground assets are BMPs that manage stormwater on the surface. They often utilize grass and vegetation to offer water quality treatments and may temporarily store stormwater after rain events. Pictured first is a bioretention cell, which can temporarily hold water before it continues downstream through an installed drainage system. Next is permeable pavement, a green stormwater system, which is an alternative material for parking lots and sidewalks. This pavement allows stormwater to return to the ground and support natural water storage, which alleviates flooding. Last, you will see a rain garden. The one pictured here is on top of a roof and offers both water quality and quantity treatments by filtering with mosses and grasses and acts as storage. Depending on your story for facility management, a retention pond may be your first thought when you think of stormwater management. These are most common across the United States, where they are less likely to freeze. They act as storage for stormwater, which alleviates flooding and overwhelming the sewer system. The grasses and vegetation around the ponds are intentional as they stop debris and trash from entering the pond. These ponds also naturally filter the stormwater as pollutants and suspended soil settle to the bottom of the pond, and this treated stormwater can continue downstream. Detention ponds are another example of an above-ground BMP. Detention ponds are not meant to hold stormwater permanently. They act as a fail-safe after rain events to temporarily store stormwater. These BMPs will drain stormwater and will be dry in about 72 hours after a rain event. Bioretention cells are landscape depressions that capture and treat the first flush of runoff from surrounding impermeable surfaces and then dry out between storms. These systems are different than a retention or a detention pond. They are typically found in parking lots or along roadways. These are not necessarily designed to hold water and have no special media to filter pollutants. A site is a good candidate for bioretention cells if it has a decent-sized surface area that can be sacrificed for development of bioretention cells, has permeable soils that allow for infiltration, and for sites whose goal is to capture runoff from the first flush. Rain gardens are comprised of a collection of native vegetation planted in a small depression designed to temporarily hold and slowly infiltrate stormwater runoff. Your site would be a good contender for a rain garden development if there is the ability to sacrifice a small area for the garden's construction, the soil is permeable to allow infiltration, it is a non-wooded site as water could damage roots of surrounding trees, There's a gentle to moderate slope. The site receives frequent small rain events, and it receives full to partial sun. Finally, permeable or porous pavement is a pavement that is comprised of porous materials to allow stormwater runoff to be absorbed and held in subsurface stone reservoirs. Eligible sites do not need to sacrifice surface area, as permeable pavement is traditional pavement alternative. Oftentimes, these sites are used in repaving parking lots. While permeable pavements have the capability to harbor plants, grid-style permeable pavements can be planted with grass. Sorry, not all permeable pavements have the capability to harbor plants. There are also BMPs that function underground. They are often utilized in areas where land is less available or more expensive, such as larger metropolitan areas. Here you can see a stormwater vault and underground culverts. The vaults can store thousands of gallons of runoff, and much like the ponds from before, release the stormwater at a controlled rate to avoid overwhelming ecosystems and sewers. The culverts or pipes carry stormwater underground to either a treatment plant or to surface waters. Can be installed inside underground vaults to improve stormwater quality. Underground assets usually have a small confined openings that cannot be entered without professional certifications and proper safety equipment. Trucks with vacuumation capabilities are required to maintain these sites. These vector trucks can vacuum sludge out of vaults and use high-pressured water called jetting to clean them. As we move forward, we will talk about the importance of preventative maintenance in order to maintain the functionality and compliance of your stormwater structures. Water compliance is not optional. The Clean Water Act establishes the basic structure for regulating discharges of pollutants into the waters of the U.S. and regulating quality standards for surface waters. Under the CWA, EPA has also developed national water quality criteria recommendations for pollutants in surface waters. Lack of proper maintenance may lead to a notice of violation and associated fines in your system if your system is inspected and found non-compliant. Cities and states have the authority to inspect your property and may issue NOVs and fines to property owners. Stormwater systems act as a line of defense against pollution in our waters. Properly maintaining BMPs allows them to function as intended and reduces non-point pollution. Properly maintaining your system also prevents premature failure. Small issues can be caught early when your system is regularly maintained and immediately repaired, avoiding failures. While some out-of-scope work may be required for every stormwater system at some point in its life due to an extreme weather event, aging infrastructure, or required system updates, many repairs and rehabilitations are preventable with routine maintenance. The main reason these systems do not receive the maintenance and attention they require is due to the run-to-fail maintenance method. And I use the term maintenance lightly. The run-to-fail method occurs when systems are left to operate without proper maintenance until a failure occurs and action is required to resume function. Property managers often fall victim to this method knowingly or unknowingly due to the out-of-sight, out-of-mind mentality, or generally lack awareness of the systems and their needs. The out-of-sight, out-of-mind mentality occurs when stormwater assets can be tucked behind buildings, hidden in parking lots, or are vegetated assets. If you aren't aware of bioswales, you would think that it was there to be designed as an aesthetic part of the property but it is a system that requires proper maintenance. Lack of these systems lead to poorly maintained stormwater assets due to turnover in positions, deficient knowledge of regulations, costly repairs in getting the system back to design as functioned, expensive fines enforced for failing compliance measures, and lacking proper budget allocation to maintenance instead focusing on emergency response, rehab, and repairs. This graphic shows the benefits of maintenance as the cost is significantly less even when compounded over multiple years. Maintenance can be viewed as an investment that is beneficial for your property in the long term. We recommend regular maintenance as it can be budgeted for, whereas full rehabilitation or replacement of your systems can be a large, unexpected lump sum impacting your overall facilities management budget. Property owners are responsible for all stormwater that leaves their site. Regulatory expectations are set on a federal level and enforced at the local level. It is important to properly maintain this responsibility and avoid regulatory fines. To do this, property owners and facility managers must devise a preventative maintenance plan. A maintenance plan is often included in operation and maintenance agreements drafted at the sale of the property. Regularly inspecting your stormwater system and BMPs will keep your property from being in violation of local and federal regulations. Inspecting your assets will also keep you aware of how they are functioning and if any repairs are necessary. If a repair is necessary, notify a stormwater professional immediately to avoid escalation of the issue and potential safety hazards. Partnering with a stormwater provider can save you time and energy as professionals can maintain and inspect your systems on your behalf. Safety, functionality, cost, and failure reduction and compliance are the four main factors to keep in mind when putting together a preventative maintenance program. Regular inspections of your stormwater assets ensure the system is functioning properly. Across the United States, expectations vary from monthly to yearly and certifications that the assets are functioning properly. Even if inspections are not mandated by your municipality, routinely inspecting your stormwater system is highly encouraged. As I mentioned, the minimum required frequency can be found in the O&M agreement. Routine maintenance includes an inspection of the entire system, structure cleaning and obstruction removal, vegetation management, sediment, trash, and debris management, deficiency escalation, and documentation and reporting. Above ground SCMs or BMPs can vary depending on the needs of the site, and each requires a different type of stormwater maintenance. With a proper understanding of the system on the site, a proactive maintenance plan for above-ground systems will include inspection of all structures, removal of trash and debris, sediment control, structural maintenance, and vegetation management. Excuse me. Underground SCMs are engineered to convey rainwater away from impervious surfaces of the site through a storm sewer system, which will require regular maintenance to ensure proper functionality. Common underground SCM maintenance plans include inspection of sumps and structures, sediment volume assessment, removal of sediment, trash, and debris, vacuuming and high-pressure jetting, filter cartridge replacement, and the documentation of any structural deficiencies or sinkholes. Next, we will talk about what to do when your system is identified with deficiencies and repairs are needed. Every water asset has an expected lifespan. Factors can influence the life of your assets, both positively and negatively. Maintaining your assets can prolong their life. Some climates and regions are harsher on stormwater assets, which is why certain BMPs function better in hot or cold environments. Designs can also vary, and flaws in assets may develop over time. Your stormwater assets are intended to be the most efficient for the system and property as a whole. As new technologies emerge, you may find another asset that could be a better fit for your system. As we talked about before, retention and detention ponds are intended to alleviate stress on downstream assets by storing stormwater. Regularly maintaining these assets will include practices that avoid these failures that occur naturally. Over time, grasses and vegetation grow, and without maintenance can become unruly, hindering the function of the pond. Trash and debris are brought to the pond by runoff and can clog outlets, which may lead to flooding of the area. Erosion may begin in areas with poor vegetation cover or steep slopes where stormwater rushes, pulling loose sediment along. The sediment naturally accumulates at the bottom of these ponds, which may build up and limit the absorption process. All of these failures are kept at bay by regular maintenance. Here's an example of a failing detention pond. Vegetation had grown so much the basin was not able to properly drain and contained multiple invasive species. Sightlines were impacted, raising safety concerns. Repairing this site was a staged process with specialized material in which debris was collected and disposed of properly. Stormwater vaults are often neglected as they are out of sight and out of mind. Common failures include accumulation of sediment, debris, and trash that limit the asset from functioning as designed. Filters also need regular maintenance and will no longer improve water quality if neglected. As you have heard, underground systems require different equipment to diagnose, treat, and inspect underground systems. Underground pipe inspection services. This technology can identify suspected pipe damages, operational obstructions like accumulation of debris, sediment, or root intrusion. Also comprise systems with complete pipe collapse or serious defects can be detected. For preventative purposes, pipeline condition can be verified to detect minor defects due to installation, assess overall pipe health, and ensure the life of the underground pipe. Vector services. Utilizing high suction power, these trucks collect and remove large volume of debris of both wet and dry solids. This can be used and applied with light combo of jetting to clean catch basins or vaults to remove accumulated sediment. Jetting services use high-pressure water to dislodge sediment, clean, and clear compressed buildup. This solution is environmentally friendly and highly effective to clean and maintain underground systems. And preventative maintenance and inspection services. These are management programs to provide routine maintenance on a monthly, quarterly, or biannual schedule. This includes visual inspections, sediment measurement evaluation, small debris removal, and reporting any deficiency over time. Having a professional familiar with the system and consistent photos over time can help identify deficiencies if they are small for monitoring and need to be repaired eventually. Here's what a repair of an underground asset may look like. A site in New Jersey had an underground storage vault with filters installed. The vault was scheduled for routine maintenance where the Vector truck would remove any built-up grime and sediment. Once on site, stormwater professionals found the filters inside the vault had not been replaced in over a decade and were no longer functioning properly. Once the vault was vacuumed and jetted, the cartridges were replaced so the stormwater could be filtered and the vault could once again function as designed. Another concern with failing stormwater assets is erosion. Rapid water flow pulls loose sediment with it, leaving the sediment displaced and often flowing into a BMP. While many BMPs function to remove the sediment from water, the sediment can clog up the naturally occurring filtration. The sediment buildup must be removed for BMPs to function properly. This can be done by regrading a detention pond, dredging a retention pond, or vectoring a stormwater vault. To prevent erosion from occurring, it is important to stabilize the soil, most often done with vegetation. The vegetation around naturally occurring streams and creeks does just this. Many BMPs mimic the vegetation, called a buffer zone. Catch basins are one of the most common stormwater assets you will see across the United States. They reduce flooding by collecting stormwater, largely from parking lots and paved streets, and diverting it downstream. When examining a catch basin, stormwater professionals will look for potential repairs, functionality, safety, and compliance. The two common issues with catch basins are debris and trash accumulation, as well as structural failures. Normal wear and tear are expected, as these assets are the first line of defense in parking lots. A less common but more serious issue is sinkholes. To understand how sinkholes can be caused by catch basins, let's look inside. Here's the inside of a catch basin. You can see where the frame sits, and below that is the riser. Risers can be made of various materials. Both concrete and brick are shown on this slide. Below the riser is the junction box and cover that connects the sewer system where stormwater is carried away. In the top picture, you can see the riser is failing. As cracks and gaps occur, stormwater runs through these openings, further loosening the material and soil around the structure, leading to openings in the ground around the basins. If catch basins are left in disrepair, sinkholes may form, leading to a more serious matter and safety compliance issue. As catch basins and underground pipes, commonly stormwater or wastewater pipes, begin to fail as cracks form and pull the ground around them inside the pipe, creating a cavity. The cavity under the surface can be much larger than the opening and the earth around the sinkhole, causing it to become loose. For example, a sinkhole that appears small on the surface may not reveal the entire larger cavern underground. As a result, areas immediately surrounding the sinkhole could be destabilized and at risk at further collapse. Here is a case study of a sinkhole that occurred in Raleigh, North Carolina. This site had two large pipes running underground below a driving lane. The pipes became compromised and water was able to flow between the pipes and surrounding earth. The water mobilized the soil around it as it rushed into the pipe, leaving cavities behind. Eventually, the asphalt on top gave way, leaving the sinkholes open. To repair the damage, the pipes had to be resealed, and the cavity was filled behind the newly secured pipe. As I mentioned previously, we often see landscapers in charge of stormwater assets. However, stormwater professionals are able to understand the vegetation requirements and identify deficiencies to keep you in compliance and to keep you, your employees, and your patrons safe when on property. Stormwater maintenance looks different on every property. Proper maintenance of a stormwater system includes regular checks or inspections for signs of system deficiencies or failure. Stormwater professionals follow a similar order of operations at every site, starting with removing excess debris and trash that has accumulated. From there, they work around the pond, starting at a water line and moving up the slope. This includes mowing, removing nuisance vegetation, or stabilizing areas with bare earth showing. Each visit, all stormwater assets are inspected to ensure they are functioning properly. The manner in which stormwater assets are maintained is essential to their health and longevity. Landscapers typically manage a property by removing weeds and nuisance vegetation for beautification purposes. Stormwater professionals are trained to understand local vegetation and how each plant is beneficial or harmful for drainage. These professionals understand how to read the original site plans and stormwater management protection plan, which documents each plant and where it was originally placed. Landscapers tend to treat all areas equally, whether a stormwater asset or not. Maintenance, as well as repair and rehabilitation, should be a collective approach carried out in conjunction with a stormwater professional. Professionals understand the engineering, regulatory, and ecological issues impacting stormwater systems and can tailor solutions based on this criteria. Additionally, stormwater professionals will work with property owners to create, enact, and ensure a preventative maintenance program that meets the need of your SCMs and complies with federal, state, and local regulations. If repairs or rehabilitation is needed, stormwater professionals will utilize a comprehensive and innovative approach to restore and maintain system functionality and uphold O&M agreements. Here is another case study identifying the difference between landscaping and stormwater maintenance. This site had two large pipes running underground. Landscapers cut this detention basin between stormwater maintenance visits, mowing the unirrigated grass too short and causing large bare areas that were eroding. The riprap protection had been improperly sprayed, killing the desirable turf, leading to erosion around the inlet and outlet control structure as well. The solution was to excavate eroded areas to reach stable soils, backfill, install filter fabrics to protect disturbed soil with seed and temporary matting, and finally installing an environmentally sensitive area or no-mow signs to deter landscapers from entering the stormwater system moving forward. Stormwater professionals are crucial to ensure proper maintenance of stormwater assets. They go above and beyond removing trash and overgrowth. Stormwater professionals can inspect underground assets and confined spaces and test water quality. They know native and beneficial vegetation and how each species can come together in a system in a delicate balance. A stormwater professional will consult site plans to understand the property and site history, as well as where water will flow downstream. Properly managing stormwater assets includes specialized tools and certifications. Understanding your responsibility to maintain and inspect your assets is imperative in having a successful stormwater preventative maintenance program and reducing costs for your property. As you can also increase the longevity of your system with a proper maintenance program. So a little bit about Aqualis. Aqualis is the nationwide leader in sustainable water management services, including stormwater and wastewater engineering, stormwater and wastewater management, lift station management, hydro excavation, vector and jetting services, underground pipe inspections, water quality testing, and emergency response services. It is important to remember that water compliance is not optional. Avoid costly violations by complying with stormwater and wastewater rules and regulations at the federal, state, and local levels. Reduce your liability by properly maintaining your system. Improve your system performance and reduce the risk of flooding and backflow. And enhance your safety by by conducting routine preventative maintenance services and corrective repairs to help prevent potential injury and damage. Michelle, that's all I have today. So if we want to jump to questions.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Erin. That was fantastic. Really interesting stuff, too. So we really appreciate you spending the afternoon with us and sharing your insights. And folks on the line, we do have some time here, so let's go ahead and submit those questions. Erin, the first question here that I'm seeing is, how do I know who to talk to about the preventative maintenance requirements of my site?
It's important to contact a professional stormwater management program in order to do that. However, you can often find the requirements that the municipality put in place when the structure was built. So, for example, an office building, if it's newly built, that first year, the responsibility of the stormwater maintenance is going to be that of the general contractor. But once that first year expires, it is going to fall onto the property owner moving forward. And those requirements are found in the O&M agreement that was completed when the site was built. Now, there are oftentimes issues on some of the older buildings in finding O&M agreements, and in some instances, you know, if the building was built in the 50s, you probably aren't going to find those requirements. And in those instances, it's best to reach out to the municipality or to a stormwater professional who has the relationships with regulators across the country in order to identify what those needs are.
Thank you, Erin. Let's see. So the next question I'm seeing here is, how much does a yearly preventative maintenance service cost?
Yeah, so that really depends on first what the requirements are of the system, as well as where you're located. So in some instances, you only need to do a Vector service, you know, once a year. In other instances, like down in Florida, in some cases you need to be out there 16 to 24 times a year conducting services. So it really varies based on geography and types of stormwater assets that you have on site.
All right, perfect. And the next question here is, what are some of the cost savings as it relates to preventative maintenance versus on-the-spot repairs?
Sure. You know, we see a lot of instances where a stormwater program can be in place, you know, for a couple $1,000s a year, or even less, just depending on the requirements. And those preventative maintenance programs are going to identify, you know, any deficiencies that can be taken care of, and oftentimes, if they're small enough, the preventative maintenance visit will handle those deficiencies. If you are, you know, kind of in that run to fail method and don't have a program in place, these, you know, repair issues or rehabilitations or retrofits can be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars if the system is not maintained properly. So there is a very large gambit of where that could fall, but it is just, you know, it kind of points out that having a preventative maintenance program in place is truly the best option in preventing those unplanned, costly repair needs.
Thank you, Erin. Now, you might have just answered this next question, but I'm still going to ask it because you might have a little bit more insight into this. So this next question here, this person is asking how they can get leadership to really understand the importance of maintenance. You know, I know you talked about a lot of the cost savings, but can you dive a little bit deeper in trying to get leadership on board?
Yeah, so I think when you're having those conversations, a lot of times it is going to come back to, you know, what is this going to cost me, or what are the cost savings overall? So I like to go into those conversations and really talk about what are the cost savings. oftentimes, we will see that companies have the budget to do this. However, it's falling under landscaping. So instead of spending all of the dollars, the budgeted dollars on landscaping, a simple transfer over to do proper preventative maintenance on your stormwater system can be easily done, and that's at no cost, no additional cost to the company. And if you don't have a plan in place, or if your landscapers, if no one's touching it at all, it's really important to talk to a stormwater professional, get them out there to inspect the site and talk through, okay, if I don't do this, what is this going to cost me longer term? Because when you are talking about millions of gallons of water flowing through a system in a lifespan of these systems, which can be anywhere from 25 plus years, you're talking about a lot of wear and tear on them. So again, talking through what those cost savings are by avoiding a costly fine or costly repair is really how I would sell this.
All right, perfect. And next question here is it important for our company to keep current maintenance records for inspections?
It really is. Not every municipality across the United States has inspection documentation requirements, but in most cases they do. So having that on hand to present, oftentimes the municipality is going to be required that you turn it into them. In some cases it's yearly, in some cases it's quarterly, some cases it's every 5 years. So understanding what the municipality requires, being proactive and turning that in, mailing it in to the regulator before they're asking for it is a much better solution than just waiting for them to mail you a letter saying that you need to get it done.
All right, perfect. We'll go ahead and we'll ask one or two more questions here for you. And one of the next questions here is, when does stormwater actually become a problem?
So I would answer that by saying, stormwater isn't the problem. Preventative maintenance would help take care of that. So like I said, any property that's 1 acre or more, so if you think about where your office complex is, or if you've ever lived in an apartment, or if you live in if you have an HOA, these are all developed properties that likely have a stormwater system in place. And if you are, in an area that receives a significant amount of rain, or even if you're in the desert area where you have a lot of vegetation growth that impacts your system when you do get those rains, if you aren't properly maintaining those, you are going to have a problem, and sometimes that can occur within 1 year of neglect. If you're in Florida, where there is a 12-month growing season, 1 month of neglect can lead to problems of your stormwater system and the proper functionality of it. And then it also really depends on, in some areas where there's more human traffic, as far as, people walking through and trash buildup occurring, we see a lot of issues in catch basins getting clogged because of that trash, or sediment buildup in the underground vaults if they're not cleaned regularly.
All right, perfect, Erin. Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and we'll close out here with this final question. And the question is, where can I actually find a maintenance provider list?
Yeah, so honestly, your municipality in some cases will have those available, and in other instances, Google is your best friend.
All right, fantastic. Well, that here wraps up our conversation. Erin, I do thank you so much for presenting and sharing your insights today. Do you have any final comments on your end before we close out of our session?
No, I appreciate your time, and if you need support in your preventative maintenance program or if a repair has come up, please reach out to Aqualis. We'd be happy to help.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Erin, again, for sharing your insights today. Huge thanks to everyone on the line and for all of those questions. Really great engagement today. And a huge, huge thank you to our session sponsor, Aqualis. Without partners like Aqualis, we wouldn't have great sessions like this one for you today. All right, everyone, thank you all again for joining us, and we can't wait to see you on the next Facilities Management Advisor webinar soon. Enjoy the rest of the day, everyone.